verse is called Instructions for Baking Bread. These are a series of three that kind of speak to each other. I dreamt of a mermaid dressed in a crown of rue. The circus was in town. I was part of something larger. Some things are essential in getting it to rise. Something cresting like a wave. Something I could not see unless I looked directly into it. I've always felt nautical, and suppose I could claim I was born out of the sea, or when my ambition fell into it, winged in honey and the herb of grace. A route I was yet to find, but my mind at last, the oyster I was diving toward. How lucky it would have been to feel the light against the wall in that blue room. I was but a pinhole in paper, projected as an image of life in a frame. I was something cosmic that did not exist before I looked, and as I don't exist, I have never felt more uncomfortable than taking off my clothes while baking bread. I used to think I was abandoned, something about being there, and then not being there. But not like Robert Ford, perhaps I am a coward. From the wings I watch a woman enter a bathtub 8 times a week. You watched her get out of it. She saw lights and figures silhouetted in the dark. Casey Affleck was once Robert Ford, though not a coward. The only thing that existed was a picture in the frame, then it was a projection. In my old ambition, I have never felt more comfortable than taking off my clothes while standing in Langdon Street. My eyes held out in my hands, staring into the sky at something that did not exist before. I looked like an adult, like an old adult. I'm starting to file things away. This is essential. Something larger, I understand. This is vague, but it is essential. Isn't it like instructions for baking bread? Put the bread into the oven. Ignore the bread until it is done. A bandit in my ambition, straightening the image in a frame, a projection. I'm getting organized. Yeast is essential in getting bread to rise. Mangoes also help things rise. Under the letter R, now this is where I keep you. How lucky it was to have felt the light against the wall in that blue room. In the room that day, I dreamt of a bird in the windowsill. The room was full of water. Laundry was being folded. The sun cresting like a wave. When I finally woke up, I was in Lithuania. When I finally woke up, my bed was a flower. The circus. Each child was charged full price upon entering the circus, waiting to be observed as a youth on a bicycle. I was happening at the same time. Each child purchased tickets from a youth on a bicycle. The tickets were free. They were charged all the same. Many years ago, Kenneth Koch attended the circus with a line of chorus girls instead of his wife. He was 30 years old then and returned to the circus 15 years later after a conversation about mushroom identification, something about being a great age. When I was a youth on a bicycle, I sold free tickets to the circus. I did not attend the circus, only benefiting from afar or like I were waiting for it to begin in front of me. When Kenneth Koch wrote about the circus, he was in Paris and happy for a time and was not alone. It would have been easier to live in Paris if I had loved someone there. And when I was living in Paris, I met a circus girl eating cookies who asked me for a cigarette. I didn't smoke, but I gave her one. And she invited me to the circus, where the circus performers taught me how to say, "You've got a beautiful pussy," in French. She laughed and asked if I had ever been to the circus. I have never been to the circus. Still happening as a youth on a bicycle, I observed myself as a bandit. When Kenneth Cope returned to the circus, he was charged full price. He stood alone beneath the canopy shouting through a hole in the wall, "Janice!" I sold tickets to the circus as a youth on a bicycle, yet I had never been to the circus. The first time John Loris attended the circus, he found Ed Harris drunk shouting, "Janice!" into his stairwell. They weren't windsurfing, but being masculine also had nothing to do with it. John Loris only attended the circus once, but paid up front. Now when Kenneth Cope attends the circus, he is somewhere else. Beyond the spectral plane, existence depends upon observation of the circus. Now this is not the circus. The circus does not exist if I have never been to the circus. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern died waiting for the circus. The circus left town. The circus came down under the cover of darkness. The circus monuments came down in the dark out of fear of the circus. The first time I attended the circus, I was 30 years old, a great age. The first time I attended the circus, I felt like 1980s Neil Young waking up on the beach after a long hangover. There were no mermaids. It was dark and bodies moved forgetful in it. Hands extended into that dark room. Voices rose from a hole in the wall. Voices that I tried to keep quiet until I could escape the idea of the circus. John Loris only went to the circus once, but it unfolded in front of him like the universe. Like the universe, it showed him everything. I never thought I would go to the circus. When I was selling free tickets to the circus as a youth on a bicycle, I never thought I would go to the circus. When Kenneth Cope left the circus, he remembered not doing things he wrote about. His voice gone, he was shouting, "Janice!" to a hole in the wall. John Loris left Ed Harris at the circus, painting his own portrait. When he left the circus, it showed him everything, and every child was charged full price for attending the circus. I never thought I would attend a circus, but found myself there all the same. When I came down from the hill, the circus was over. Someone was standing on the corner, staring into the sun, literally. The sound of a record skipping in a tall room.
Yeah. Let's see if he wants to read anything.
Girlfriend is better the first time when nothing is better than that, or when she doesn't yet exist. Above the Lackawanna Hotel Tavern and wearing a large suit, I was drinking wine the first time I heard it. Across from the Dansbury Beach Depot that later burned down, in a large suit above the Lackawanna Hotel Tavern that served Old Milwaukee and probably Genesee because of my dad exclusively, and on draft I heard it. In Jeff's apartment, the first time I heard it, David Byrne was wearing a large suit and John Loris was on the couch, and I wasn't saying anything, just hearing it for the first time. Drinking wine, not Old Milwaukee, and that was 10 years before I drove to Wisconsin, where Girlfriend is better with smoke in her eyes. In Moab, in Boise, in Red Hook, she did not drink beer with me in Wisconsin. Eating breakfast for $1 in the Red Hook IKEA, staring into a dozen rooms that didn't exist. With bows in her hair, nothing is better than that, across from the Dansbury Depot before it burned down, above the Lackawanna Hotel Tavern in Jeff's apartment. Wearing a large suit, I heard it for the first time, and now hear it again alone in a chair above the Langan Street Tavern. Staring into a dozen blue rooms that didn't exist in the Red Hook IKEA for $1, we drank coffee and cried at the lack of options, but those blue rooms were all they served exclusively and on draft. Attending to no one, alone in a large suit is better. Above the Langdon Street Tavern, where I'm hearing it again like the first time is better. She did not drink old wine with me in Wisconsin, or above the Langdon Street Tavern. Girlfriend is better in Boise, with the light against the wall in the blue room, where nothing was better than that. In Vermont, above the Langdon Street Tavern, still not drinking old Milwaukee, probably because of my dad wearing a large suit where girlfriend doesn't exist. There's nothing better than that in this blue room, wearing a large suit, hearing it again, alone and attending to no one at the same time. I'm thinking of some perfect room in a red hook IKEA that makes me cry, in a large suit exclusively on a graph. Old girlfriend is better when she doesn't exist, and nothing is better than that. I dreamt of a mermaid dressed in a crown of rue. The circus was in town. I was part of something larger. Some things are essential in getting it to rise. Something cresting like a wave. Something I could not see unless I looked directly into it. I've always felt nautical, and suppose I could claim I was born out of the sea, or in my ambition fell into it, winged in honey and the herb of grace. A route I was yet to find, but my mind at last, the oyster I was diving toward.